I'm an Australian guy living here in Belarus, and I know there's a lot of guys traveling the globe, moving around, changing countries, and a lot of these guys never really integrate and never really make the most of where they are. And I have here in Belarus. I've met a lot of people. I've become very well connected. I've been featured in several newspaper articles. I was invited onto Belarusian state television a couple of weeks ago, but there won't be enough time for me to go through that process. I just know a lot of people, and a lot of people worth knowing who are well connected in business. I've had 3 job offers, and I just have a lot of friends here. So I'm in a great position. I reckon that if you travel to a country, you can kind of do what I've done, and you'll find that you'll have a great experience. And I want to contrast this with this guy I just met. Now, I just did another video prior to this one where I told the story about this guy, but I'll repeat the story. This guy, he's an American guy. And he's a very handsome guy, very perfectly groomed and ripped and jacked like probably 2.5 or 3 years straight at the gym, jacked, maybe with a bit of help, and ripped. You know, this guy's living off tea and protein powder, right? So this guy looks pretty impressive, and he seems to be a professional sex tourist. So he's been here for 3 weeks, and I just met him at a local Coffix. I heard his accent, so I started chatting to him, as I do. And he seemed to be quite normal, actually. Other than that, I'm the first person he's met who's not a girl he's trying to bang from Tinder. So this guy is literally in his apartment all day trying to get girls to hook up with him and failing miserably. Now, I'm not shaming him for wanting to have sex, right? We're men. We want to have sex. It's part of how our species operates. Man has sex with woman, out comes baby. But this guy is going from country to country to country, living like this weird kind of reclusive hermit in his Airbnb, trying hardest to hook up with girls who, quite frankly, are not at his level. And just last week, another example, I had a guy, older guy. I was filming, and I saw a guy kind of standing just behind me here, and then as I moved the camera around, he kind of moved around. So I can see this guy's waiting to talk to me. He's just waiting for me to finish what I'm saying, and he wants to chat with me, which is fine, because I do actually get recognised quite a bit here in Belarus, probably a couple of times a week, maybe a bit more. So that's cool. So I could see he was there, so I finished up the filming, and I just turned around and started talking to him. And this guy, he was American too actually, but an older guy, probably mid 50s, maybe early 50s somewhere. He had a Belarusian wife and a son here. Couldn't speak Russian. Been living here for 6 years and has no friends here. It's like, what are you doing with your life? Like, what kind of miserable existence? I mean, it's still good. He has probably a lovely wife and a great kid, but we're not supposed to live like this, like these weird hermits, right? So what I want to do today is stop you from becoming this guy. And I'm going to start with Tinder. Tinder can actually be useful, but not for dating girls, right? You don't get your dates from Tinder. You don't get your girlfriend or wife from Tinder. But Tinder, if you set the age to maybe 35 plus, 40 plus, and look through the profiles and see who is somebody who is well connected socially and professionally. There are a lot of successful people and a lot of women who are that age, 35, 40 plus. A lot of these women are very successful in their careers, but not in their private lives. So you can meet a lot of women who are really winning at the capitalist game, at the professional game, and these women are very, very well connected. They network themselves, their friends are going to also be successful, and these are the social circles that you want to enter. One, because they're mainly probably very interesting, and a lot of guys, foreigners here, are entrepreneurs of some description, so this is a good natural social fit. And plus, once you're in these networks tend to look after each other, you know what I mean? So they go to you for whatever you do, you go for them to them for whatever they do. That's a really good place to start. I mentioned that first American guy, the one I spoke to in the Coffix. You need to talk to people, yeah? Connect with people. When you hear an accent that's maybe not, can be local or not local, but in this case he was clearly American, and look, there's not many Westerners here at the moment. So I thought I'll just say g'day to him, see what he's up to, who he is. And we just chatted for a bit, and this has been a great way that I've met quite a few very interesting people and well-connected people who tap me into their social networks. And I don't have an agenda. Like, I'm not trying to sleep with him. I'm not trying to get money out of him. I'm not trying to do something else freaking wacky. I'm just meeting him. I'm seeing, is this a guy who can be valuable in my life, and can I be valuable in his life? And value can take many forms. It can just be a good friend. Could be an interesting person to talk to. Could be a potential business associate. But here in Minsk, what you get is a lot of foreigners who actually, on a professional level at least, really have it together. And they've had success in their lives, and they're looking to network as well, except it's really hard to find each other. So what you need to do once you meet a few guys like this is get everyone together. Yeah, get everyone together. Say you meet 4 or 5 guys in a couple of weeks, get them all together for a beer, for a meal. Mix people in together and see who gets along and who you can help to meet each other as well. And what happens is that you become a bit of a hub yourself. And that's kind of how I am. I'm a bit of a hub here in a sense. I'm connected to many different groups, many different people, and I've kind of brought them all together. Not all of them, but a lot of them I've kind of mixed together. People I think that might be suitable to know each other. I kind of just introduce or recommend, or even just share a contact and say, hey, this guy is in the same business as you, maybe you want to meet him, as an example, right? So by doing this, by becoming that central focus, people always think about you, right? People want to invite you to things. So I get invited to a lot of things, parties, restaurants, whatever it is, right? Guy just invited me on his yacht down in Turkey. A guy I didn't know that well, right? But this is what happens when you're out and about and amongst it. Now, in terms of locals, what you want to do, you want to find the local men who are doing well, right? So you want to go to decent bars, and not shitty quasi-prostitute bars. I'm talking about bars that cool young guys go to who've got money. All right, so find some nice hipster bars, find some professional kind of bars and the restaurants, and spark up conversation. Yeah, the guy looks neat and well put together. He could possibly be in the IT sphere. He probably speaks English fairly well, and guess what? If you're remotely normal and decent in any way, well put together, he's going to want to know you. It's very curious for him. What's this foreigner doing here? He seems interesting. I want to talk and get to know him. So you will make a lot of friends with local guys. So you need to target them. You need to see them. They're going to be well groomed, nice fade haircuts, nice sharp haircuts, dressed well, looking good, probably in good shape. You want to target them and become friends with them. So in summary, instead of trying to get laid or trying to find dates, which is probably what 80% of guys focus on when they first arrive here, focus on building out your networks. And things happen. Ventures find you. Build a good reputation. Be an honourable, good person. Enjoy people's company for the sake of their company, and good things will happen. Now, this video has not been about dating at all, but what will happen is that if you build these networks with no agenda other than trying to build your networks, what you'll find is that girls will show up in front of you. Girls will recommend their girlfriends to you, etc., etc. So if you play the longer game like this, you'll have a much, much better life, a much, much better experience. Instead of being that creepy sex pest who's in the Airbnb messaging on his Tinder all day, you're actually someone. You're known, you're visible, you're in the world. You have real social status and real social connection. All right, I hope this helped a lot. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like. I really appreciate it. It lets me know what kind of content you like the most. If you are subscribed, I do sincerely appreciate it. I'm glad we could spend another few minutes together today. If you're not subscribed, you made it all this way, mate, just go for it. Commit, bro. Press that big red subscribe button. What I'll do now is just continue on for a bit of a walk. So I hope you enjoyed that video. That's the content done with. I'm just going to have a bit of a walk and a stroll at the moment. Obviously, I'm in the absolute center of town here. You can see that McDonald's sign ahead. This is the McDonald's on Prospect Nezavizi Mosti. And this is very much a central focus of Minsk. It's like a central landmark in a sense. It's right on top of a very big railway station, and the railway station incorporates 2 train lines there, and it's a real hub for people to meet, especially this McDonald's. People meet out the front of here all the time. You often see people just standing there on their phone waiting to meet their friend or their boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, maybe mum or dad. It's quite a common meeting spot here in Belarus. Sorry for the focus jumping in and out. because it's kind of dusk here, my camera doesn't know what to focus on at the moment. So we are getting a little bit jumpy in the focus there. Nonetheless, we go for a stroll. It's Friday. I've just been filming for a couple of hours. Just had a nice Belarusian guy approach me and say, hey, I like your channel. I've been watching your videos. Hi, Eugene, if you're watching. And I can kind of tell when someone's going to approach me because I'll be filming. And I can see someone kind of watching me and kind of hovering around behind me. He was there with his wife, and I could see them kind of ahead of me, looking back. Not sure whether they should approach me or not. That was very nice to see someone appreciate my content. That's kind of funny because on the internet, you know, you get a lot of weirdos and trolls writing all kinds of random stuff. Fortunately, I have a thick skin, but if you didn't, I imagine you might want to cry on your pillow because people say some bizarre things in the comment section. A lot of people are very sensible and want to talk about things and you know, have a conversation about interesting topics. Then others just seem to carry this kind of bitterness, this kind of anger towards the world, which, you know, I do appreciate that. If you're writing nasty things on YouTube, you probably don't have a good life, right? So part of it's kind of like, well, F you, buddy. But then another part of it's like, well, actually, you know what? If I was commenting rudely on someone else's channel, just randomly and seemingly irrelevant to content, I'd probably have a pretty sad life. So I'm not too stressed about that. But what is nice, though, so that's kind of neutral nowadays. It's kind of neutral. I don't really care about this, but what is good is when people really do appreciate it and I get a heartfelt, excited hello, especially in person. It's really cool to connect with another human being who's been watching me on YouTube and then comes up and says hello, which is really cool. It's a nice mood lifter, and I didn't really expect that to happen. Maybe if I was out for dinner with some friends and there was maybe some other foreigners there who I didn't know, maybe they might know. Sorry about this focus, everybody. Oh yeah, it doesn't like this time of night at all. It doesn't know where to focus. So it's jumping around everywhere. Yeah, I thought maybe, you know, at an expat's kind of dinner, you know, maybe a few guys I don't know and a mate brings a mate and, oh yeah, I've seen your videos. You know, maybe that kind of thing. Not that I really thought about it, but to have people just cold come up to me. And I'm surprised at the backgrounds of everyone. There's some local guys, the Turkish guy the other day, Chinese guy, the same. In fact, actually, I got double approached. I had one guy talking to me who was another YouTuber, maybe you know him, Filipino guy, Tito Flores. You can look him up. He's a Filipino guy living here in Belarus. He has a Belarusian girlfriend, and I've bumped into him a couple of times and we kind of chatted a bit. He was chatting to me, then another guy came up to me at the same time and said hello, and he watches my channel. So that was pretty cool because I do have a fairly humble channel, let's be honest. 5,000 subscribers is not exactly a household name. Well, it might be if you're a foreigner or an English speaker here in Minsk. I guess it kind of is for that fairly small group of people. Yeah, I'm not sure if you just saw then, it looked like that girl put her hand up. And what you get here so much is people waving in the background. They love cameras, they love to wave. See there, she did another wave. I thought she did. You get used to it and you get to know the body language of people who are kind of waving at you. So I figured she was waving that girl in the backpack there with the four of them kind of hand in hand. So this happens a lot, especially in busy areas like this. And sometimes I wave back, sometimes I don't notice, sometimes I speak to them. But just then, I had a boy walk past me. He could barely walk on his own. The boy could barely walk on his own. He was, I think, not even 2. I'm not very good at kids' ages, but I would say not even 2. And he was kind of like just like stumbling along. You know what I mean? Just stumbling, not walking freely. And he came up to me and he looked into my camera. So I was just seated. And I had my phone out, and I'd stopped filming, but the gimbal was still attached to the phone. I was just messaging my buddy. And he came up and looked at the phone as if I'm filming or something. And it's like, wow, these Belarusians, they are well on top of the filming thing. That was quite bizarre, because I would have thought this kind of boy at this age like literally couldn't probably even barely say hello. He could barely walk. He was just kind of like getting walking practice, and his parents were just kind of there. And the parents just kind of made a joke with me and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, wow, there's something in the genes here that makes them very susceptible to interest in the camera. That was one of the more funnier moments. Sorry for the double positive there. That was one of the more funny moments, or one of the funnier moments. And this happens, you'll know as well as I do, if you are mixing languages. I'm currently speaking 3 languages, and what happens is you really forget the finer points of grammar in each language. And this gets quite annoying. Well, not quite annoying, but you're just like, ugh, did I just say that? Did I just make this kind of grammatical error that I would have learnt when I was about 10? Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I am actually a university professor. Well, that was my last job in Australia at a fairly high-ranking university, to say the least, as well. So I should be able to speak properly, but current evidence suggests that I can't. And as I say, I just find myself making these like more funnier. I mean, really, come on. Like, this is like, you know, it's not a common mistake to make as an English speaker, right? Like, you don't make this mistake very often. Not many people would. And here I am just saying it more funnier. Like, what on earth is that? This is happening all the time. I'm mixing all kinds of words in together that make no sense. Saying the wrong word that kind of sounds similar. This is happening a lot. So I'm looking forward to being back in Melbourne fairly soon and just speaking English all the time. Today I did a number of things, all in Russian language. I went to migration to get an exit visa. This is a long, arduous process. And then after that, I went to this oxygen chamber place, which is attached to the Children's Hospital. And that was all in Russian as well. And, you know, by the end of that, like, you're feeling pretty tired. And I was at migration for almost 4 hours. And I'll tell you what happened to me there. It was a really interesting story. I got there at about 10 o'clock, so I kind of slept in, you know. I'm not someone who wants to rush my sleep, right? If I need sleep, I let my body sleep. I don't want to be half asleep for the day. So I let myself sleep in at 10 o'clock. I know I should have got up early to go to immigration, but I didn't. I'm a bad person, whatever. So I go there fully aware that this might take some time. So I bought a book. I bought a notepad with some language practice. But also fully aware that, you know, migration office, you're probably going to have some chats with people as well, right? So everyone's just sitting around waiting for the same thing for hours. So I get there, take a seat. My number's 76, right? And I notice that the current number is 10. Right? There's 2 people in there, 10 and 11. I'm like, okay, this is not good. But chances are some of those other numbers are taken up by other rooms, right? So I'm looking at room 4. So I'm just sitting there. I started chatting to this Chinese guy. He's just finished studying. He's on his way home back to China. Let's have a chat for, I don't know, however long. And then he asked me, what number do you have? I'm like, oh man, 76. I'm doing the maths in my head, and it's not looking good because I have an hour lunch and then the office shuts at 4, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll stick it out and see what happens, because it's a bit of a hike to get out there. So I'm here now, and he's like, oh, you won't get seen today. I just wait here. And he goes out to the other room, and he comes back with a ticket with a number 24 on it. I'm like, I don't want to ask questions, but I like your style. Thank you very much for that, sir. So he gave me the 24 ticket. And after that, the numbers started rolling fairly quickly, and I was served within about an hour. And I was the last one before lunch. And then what I did with my number 76 ticket is that in between, this couple started talking to me, because they overheard what we were talking about, right? So this couple started talking to me, and they said they were from Spain, but they didn't really look Spanish. But it turns out they're not actually from Spain. They've been living in Spain for 10 years. And the guy was Russian, I think, and the girl, I think, was Latvian. So I thought they were Spanish, as I said at the start, because that's where they just come from. So I said to him, hey, you know, do you know any foreigners? Because I'm just meeting so many foreigners who don't know other foreigners. And I was just going to hook him up with some guys. Just, you know, made some friends, put him in a chat group here and there, and let him kind of socialise a bit. And so I did that. And it turns out he's actually Russian speaking and knows people here and whatever, but still, you can jump in there and meet some other foreigners here in Belarus, some English-speaking ones or some French ones or whatever. These are quite common here as well. And then he had number 99. And I'm like, bro, you're not going to get through till friggin' 3 weeks' time. Like, really? Let me get the ticket 76, because the girl in the office, I gave her my 24 card and my 76 card or ticket. So I went back in there and said, Izviniti, I had 2 cards before. One was for my drug, whatever, number, whatever it was, and she went through the bin and got me the ticket 76. I'm like, oh, this is a bullshit. So then I'll just go in here. It's getting a little bit nippy out here. So what I did was I gave that. I said to the bloke, just wait there. I'll give you a ticket, because I'll give you my ticket. You might have a chance of actually getting in a bit earlier, because at the moment, with ticket 96 or 99, should I say, you got no chance, mate. You might as well just go home, like now at lunchtime, because you're not going to get served. And I gave him the 76. Anyway, we swapped details, as you do in this kind of situation. It's quite common, to have this kind of conversation here where you meet a foreigner. You kind of do a bit of a suss out on them. Are they reasonably normal, or are they a total crackpot? If they're reasonably normal or better, I shall go this way. Then you just swap numbers or add each other on some kind of social media. So anyway, he messaged me saying, thanks to your number, I was able to be the last person to get served today. Otherwise I wouldn't have got served. I would have queued up for 4 or 5 hours and had to go home empty-handed. Migration is a little bit notorious, I should say. At the moment, a lot of Chinese students are going home. So what the Chinese students did was, a few of them got there at 4:30 in the morning, and it opens at 8, right? And they just got like 20 tickets, and they gave about 10 to their friends who came. Then maybe another 8 friends didn't come yet. So they had some spare tickets. So that's how this guy got a ticket for me. He went out to his friends, and he got that ticket. Otherwise, I would have had to wait, because I was able to leave at lunchtime. I ended up having a meal in the building and bumped into that couple again and chatted to them for a while again. Otherwise, I would have had to stick around for that, right to the very end. By the time you do that all in Russian, and then you go to the that oxygen chamber thing my mate was recommending to me, I went there and tried to work that out. By the time you do all that, it's 6 hours, all in Russian, you're pretty knackered, You really just want to go home and have a bit of a sleep, because your brain is just fried from having to translate with a very limited vocabulary that I have. Anyway, I've been filming quite a bit today and had a busy day, so I'm going to go in to, I think this is a Yevraopt,